Hello and thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, the comedian, actor, writer and political activist, Eddie Izzard.
Where should we start the show tonight? Human sacrifice. That's a good place.
He relishes a challenge, as well as being a star of the stand-up world. He's in a period drama with Judi Dench and is running for political office in the UK. He first came to Paris to perform in French 20 years ago. Since then, he's done stand-up in German and Spanish and is planning sketches in Arabic and Russian. He's in Paris with a new show. Let's meet Eddie Izzard.
I've got to say, I'm not planning sketches in Arabic and Russian. I'm going to do the whole show.
You can do a whole show.
I'm going to learn Arabic and Russian. I was born in Arabic country. I was born in Yemen, in Aden.
And you're back in Paris. You're here for a while. Your show's called En Rodage. Can you translate it for us?
Rodage means roadage, which means you know
breaking in the car.
Yes.
Or something.
Well, it's when they tour around. It's French people use it. French comedians use it when you're running in a show. So it's I think it might come from cars running in a car, you know, getting it up to speed and stuff. But it's work in progress. It's when you're doing stuff and trying out this and improvising that. But I'm improvising in my second language, which is tricky. But
get on stage and you don't know what you're going to talk about?
I do know roughly what I'm going to talk about. The first week I had less idea what I was going to talk about. I was just writing out lists of stuff. I have some bullet points and I can improvise off that. And I've got a few ideas which I quite like now, and I think I'm going to put that in. I think I'm going to call the new show Wunderbar, which is merveilleux, which is wonderful, which is that, and just be more positive while there's all this negative stuff going on in the world.
This is from last night's show.
Le masculin et le féminin, avec français, c'est bizarre. Pour vous, c'est normal. Ouais. Une table, c'est très féminin. Une table, pourquoi c'est féminin? Parce que c'est féminin. Mais pourquoi? Parce que c'est féminin. C'est une table. Peut-être vous avez créé le masculin et le féminin pour énerver les anglophones. Et vous avez réussi, absolument, tellement.
So you first came here 20 years ago. Have you got the hang of the masculine and the feminine now?
Yeah, I think the key thing is not to worry about it so much. Well, I do communication is more important than grammar. And that's what we do as kids. We just communicate. And then your parents or your teachers, they say, can you get the grammar better? Because that's not quite how you say things. And it's quite difficult to persuade people to do that. But I just think, yeah, I want to communicate with people, and I've been doing it for 20 years. But I added together all the gigs I've done in France, in French, different cities as well now, because I've done tours, or a big tour. I've done 5 months continuously, 5 months continuous over that time, which is impressive, but also not that impressive over 20 years. You know, if I was just stayed here for 6 months in one block, I could have done the same thing, maybe.
Okay, well, we spoke to some of the audience at your performance last night, and we asked them if humour can be translated.
First of all, I think the jokes work in both languages perfectly. And second of all, just the fact that he's able to translate them from one language to another makes it special for everybody, I'm sure.
I think British humour is hard to translate, but he did a good job doing so. He translates his jokes literally, which is what we're told to absolutely not do when we learn a foreign language. He does it, which makes his comedy even funnier.
He has an outside perspective on French culture, so it's even wittier and more enjoyable when he picks on us. We don't get offended, it makes us laugh a lot.
I think his crazy sense of humour still comes over in any language.
Do countries have a national humour, do you think?
No, this is what I don't agree with. Do countries have a national sense of music?
No.
You see, you'd think, well, maybe they do, and there's that folk stuff. Yeah, well, okay, but is there a way, you know, rock and roll? If you take rock and roll, the Americans invented it, so they could only do it, and then the British can do it. Yeah, Liverpudlians can do it. Okay, they can actually rule the world doing it. You know, be one of the biggest bands in the world. And the Stones can do it. Okay, and then there's other bands coming through. From ABBA came through. Or they can do pop stuff. Okay, and they're Swedish. And in fact, anyone can do anything. Jazz was invented by Americans. It is one of the distinct American invented creative forms, but you could have a Chinese kid who's a brilliant jazz saxophonist, pianist, whatever, and you wouldn't say, no, that's not allowed. Humor is human. It's not national. References are national. I mean, the bit they showed there about that's rather French, about the le and the la. And you know, I go into this whole thing of you've got la bataille. Battle is got blood and death and heads coming off and stuff, and that is feminine. La bataille, la guerre, those are feminine. Makeup is masculine. Lipstick is masculine, and mascara is masculine. There is no logic. People were on drugs when they worked this stuff out. So it's just somebody decided it's probably just fallen into those ways.
You're very pro-European. You protested against Brexit. Do you still think?
I campaigned for humanity in Europe, and that's heading forwards. Put it that way.
We've got pictures. We've got pictures of you out on the streets campaigning. You're also trying to get into politics as well. You're standing to be elected into Labour's governing body, the NEC, in Britain. Voting is this week. But after Brexit, after the election of Trump, how do you stay positive about politics?
Well, back in the 30s and 40s, things got very negative. They got way worse negative, is that English? They got way more negative than they are now, and we came back from that. Sometimes you have to roll over to a negativity side to pull back into something more positive. The key thing is this century. This will be the last century on Earth for humanity, or it will be our first century on Earth. We're just going to wipe ourselves off the planet. This century, we've got the ability to do that. With this separation, this hatred, this stoking that up, individuals saying, let's go, let's run, let's hide, let's build walls, or we make it work for 7 billion people. Everyone having the right to have enough money to live, to have family, to have democracy, having that as a right. We make that work this century, or goodbye humanity.
And last year, your memoir, Believe Me, was published. You've been touring with it, and you're going to continue touring with it in February in the United States. It's called A Memoir of Love, Death, and Jazz Chickens.
Yes, New York Times bestsellers list and Sunday Times bestsellers list.
Not only that, Bill Gates read it and said he's got much in common with you.
Yeah, yes, that was quite a nice thing to say. Well, it's interesting. It's about being nerdish and difficulty with girls, because I'm a sort of wannabe lesbian, and the Jazz Chickens is not mentioned at all. They said there's got to be something funny in the title, so they said it's got to be cake or death, which is a part of my stand-up. And Jazz Chickens is also part of my stand-up, but it's not. I don't make any reference to it, which I quite like. It's just not mentioned. But it was chickens that play jazz.
We've talked about all the things that you have done and are doing. One thing you talk about in the book is losing your mum when you were 6.
Yeah.
You've said that everything I do in life is trying to get her back. I think if I do enough things, then maybe she'll come back. Talking about your mum and putting personal things out there for the public, has that changed anything for you?
I don't think it's changed things for me. That if you read the first chapter, it's about me and my brother and my dad on that day in 1968, and we had an unusual thing that there were two schools of thought. I now think there's one school of thought. There were two schools of thought of, do you tell the kids that mum is ill and going to die, or do you not tell them that she's actually going to die? I just thought mum was ill, and you get ill, you get better. Okay, she's ill, she got a nurse, and okay, she's gone yellow. She got jaundice, and I just thought, okay, she's got yellow, she's going to get unyellow. I got spots, I had measles, so that's what happens. But then one day you come home and she isn't there, and she's never there again, and it's a kick in the head, and it really affects you. And in the Believe documentary, there's a documentary called Believe, and this is Believe Me, the me version of Believe, this line came up with, out of all the lines, because quite often I can talk quite loosely about things and it doesn't really get into any depth, but Sarah Townsend really pushed for this, and this line came out from my subconscious, really. I seem to be trying to do something that will impress my mother from beyond a wall of whatever, because I don't believe in gods, and I don't believe in an afterlife, I'm afraid. I think she would have come back by now and given me a thumbs up, or said, don't wear that lipstick. As
well as politics, as well as stand-up, as well as running marathons, as well as so many other things, you're still doing acting.
Yeah.
You recently were in a film, Stephen Frears' period drama, Victoria and Abdul, with Judi Dench.
Yep.
You starred as her son. We've asked you to pick something to play us out with today. You've chosen something else that is connected to the monarchy, the Crown.
Oh, right, yes. I started as who, did you say? I started as
Judi Dench's son.
Oh, it's his son. I thought you said it's Hassan. I thought, I don't know. Yes, I was his son, Eddie Izzard, Edward VII, yes.
But you've also chosen the monarchy to play us out with. Are you a fan of the monarchy?
No, I'm against hereditary privilege. It makes no sense in the 21st century. I'm interested in what people do in their real lives. So if we take modern monarchy, what do people actually do? And this is what the Crown, I think, has been good at showing, is what people actually did, what they felt, how they were feeling, how they interacted, with as much research as they can, and obviously the monarchy is not helping them do this, but the fact it's Netflix, it's going around the world, I think it's a good spotlight to bring into hereditary privilege and how hereditary privilege surrounds itself with, or maybe these people come and surround themselves to hereditary privilege, and they want their jobs to continue. They want to be in this world of bowing and scraping and yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, to your majesty, your royal highness, the names, all this kind of stuff. It makes very little sense in the 21st century, but it exists, and I think the people who are for it in Britain are probably more stridently for it than the people are against it. So it'll probably continue, but I think the kids have done a pretty good job. I think Charlie's done a pretty good job. I think Diana was a conflicted person, but she had some new ideas that was more open, more about openness, about reality, about people being real people. I mean, I'm transgender. I came out 32 years ago. I've tried to be more real about that. Even in France, people react to me slightly unusually. But maybe they got more used to me in Britain now. It's just, this is the 21st century. We've got to get real this century rather than retrenching, pulling back, building walls, running and hiding. That's just not the way for humanity.
Eddie Izzard, thank you so much for joining us. Your new show is on at the Nouvelle Scène until the 28th of January. And after that, you're off to the US to tour with your memoir, Believe Me. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
There is no possibility of my forgiving you. The question is, how on earth can you forgive yourself?